Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Mindset Monday, where we get together and connect and talk about the things that actually matter. I'm Beth Jones. I'm your host here in the Mindset Academy and on this soul deep adventure. It's very different from anything you've probably ever experienced. If you've been around a minute, you know that the way I do things is outside the norm. And if you, like me, like I was, are sick of doing things within the societal norm, within the boundaries of what we can and can't and should and shouldn't, and all these rules that people just arbitrarily force upon us that don't align with our hearts and our spirits, this is the right place for you. See, creators and leaders are typically why askers, right? Why are we doing it this way when we could do it this way, or when there may be an easier way? But that's a conversation for another day. Today, we're going to talk about alignment over force. It may surprise you, and if you read the preview, the description, the write-up that I did about this week's training, it may surprise you to know that when people come to me and I ask them what they want, and they say, well, I'm just don't feel like myself. I'm not feeling great in my life. Something's wrong and I can't figure out what it is, but I just feel exhausted and overwhelmed and stuck. And like I've been in this rut for years and I don't know what my problem is. I can't figure it out. And so I ask them what they want, and often the answer is very typical, right? I want to lose weight. I've been drinking too much. I can't get out of bed in the morning. I want more time with my family. I don't know what to do about my dead-end job, right? And if I were the kind of coach, like there are many of them out there, productivity coaches or business specialists or fitness geniuses or doctors that are going to tell you that you have to quit drinking, or physical trainers, right? Fitness gurus or motivational experts, I may begin to share with you a list of all the things that you can do and should be doing to solve those surface level symptoms. The problem with that is that you're already overwhelmed and you're already exhausted and you don't, frankly, need more to do. If you're anything like I used to be, my plate was full, overflowing full. And so I collected more plates and overflowed those too, because that's obviously the answer, right? When we're overwhelmed, we just overwhelm ourselves more trying to solve the problem. But that's a little counterintuitive, right? We don't need more force. We don't need more things to do. We don't need to replace one addiction with a different one. This is a pattern I see a lot in people, that they'll be so excited that they kicked one habit and they don't realize that they picked up another equally obsessive habit, right? Sometimes it's they quit smoking, but now they're working out 3 hours a day in the gym. Is it healthier? Arguably, yes. But they're still exhausted and they're still overwhelmed and they're still stressed and they're still anxious, but they're not smoking, damn it. Okay? So here, we're going to solve for these things in a different way. And if you're looking for an easier way to solve all of those problems, then again, you are in the right place. If you are looking for a way to do less to get the results you're looking for, then you're in the right place. I'll give you an example. You know those moments when you're doing something, you're engaged in an activity that you're really passionate about. You're working on a cause, whether it's volunteer or it's a project at work that just really makes you tick, right? It's really aligned with the things that interest you the most, with the problems that you feel most imperative to solve, with the things that speak most directly to your heart, right? Think about what it's like to exist in that space. It doesn't matter if it's a work thing, if it's planning a trip with friends or planning an outing with friends or planning an event or a volunteer function. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something that really lights you up from the inside out. I want you to think about what working on something like that feels like. You have all these great ideas. It keeps you up at night in a way that fills your heart up. You feel energized, you feel excited, you feel happy, you feel purposeful, right? When we're working on things and doing things that we're driven to do from an intrinsic motivational standpoint, which means we love doing it. We desire doing it. It makes us excited and happy. You probably could work 20 hours a day on those projects and not bat an eye, and still feel energized and excited and fulfilled. Where exhaustion and overwhelm and burnout and stress and anxiety come from is when we're living outside of alignment with who we actually are and what we actually want. So I want you to start paying attention throughout the course of this week about what those, even if they're teeny tiny little moments, the things that really light you up. The topics that you could talk about for hours on end, because you just have this innate knowledge you've collected over time, because you read books about it, because you love learning about it, because you follow groups where they talk about it, because you love talking about it, and you love being surrounded by people that are jazzed by those same things, right? When we live in alignment with who we actually are and what we actually want, after we peel back all the layers of what society tells us life should or shouldn't look like for us, of what success should or shouldn't look like, of what happiness should or shouldn't look like, when we ditch all the family pressure and we start identifying with our own truth, you don't have to force the change. You don't have to drop a habit and count to 21 days, hoping and praying that what they say is true, that 21 days is what breaks a habit or makes a habit, a new habit, become effortless. We just have to force ourselves through it for 21 days, and then like magic, it won't feel like pressure anymore. Let me tell you how many times I've done 21 days. For various reasons, right? Whether it was fitness, whether it was diet, whether it was a productivity thing for work. 21 days. Just got to count to 21 days. I got to force myself through 21 more days of exhaustion and overwhelm. This is not that. If you are looking to break exhaustion and overwhelm, you can't do that by adding more exhaustion and overwhelm to your life. So we in here, my clients, do exactly the opposite. They begin a process where they start uncovering their own truth. And then when they figure out what their own truth is, They start the process of releasing the guilt and shame of living a life in alignment with that truth, even if nobody else in their immediate circle right now understands it. Even if they're surrounded by people that are convinced that the only way to success is to work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and drive themselves to the gym and beat themselves to death creating Pinterest perfect birthday parties for their kids and homeschooling and creating focus groups and going to networking events that they hate to look for another career, or forcing themselves into counseling to try to correct a relationship in which they're not actually the problem, right? Or they're not the only problem, right? The thing about relationships is that there's another person involved. So we, as one person, cannot fix all the issues alone. Unless we have a partner that's also willing to get into alignment and to have deeper discussions and to figure out what everybody needs and desires to move forward to a place that's happy and fulfilling. That doesn't mean your relationship's at a dead end if your partner's not there yet. It just means that there's another conversation to be had first before progress can be made. There's different work to do first before progress can be made. And if we want more, I'm going to say something else that sounds completely counterintuitive. If we want more control in our lives, we have to stop trying to control other people. Trying to control other people, trying to force other people to think the way you think, trying to force other people to agree with you, to agree with the method that you think is the best, is a surefire way to cause aggravation in everybody, right? They're aggravated because we're forcing action upon them. We're aggravated because they're not listening. There's a whole bunch of individuals in this world, and we all have unique ways of thinking through things, of accomplishing things. And if we force people into doing things our way, then how does anything improve, right? And it's the same in the 9-week framework that I teach. I'm not telling anybody, I'm not telling my clients exactly what to do or what to think. I'm teaching them how to explore what they actually think, how they actually feel about things without censoring themselves, so they can set themselves free from constantly worrying about the judgment and the opinions of others and live in alignment with their truth. Because it's then that we actually access this freedom and this peace and this contentment and this happiness and this sense of fulfillment. So when I talk about alignment over flow, this is what I'm talking about. If you go back to that imagery, those emotions, that feeling that you get when you're working on something or spending time with people that are really important to you, what if you could build and construct and design your entire life with that same ease and excitement and passion and effortlessness? And the reality is that you can. We all can. We all have this power. We all have the ability to step into this autonomy where we're at peace with the idea that we can control what happens in this like 6-foot, 10-foot bubble around us. We can control what's going on in our own minds and our own hearts and the way we respond to and manage our emotions and our activities and our thoughts and our behaviors. And that's where it ends. And there's peace in learning to acknowledge that. There's peace in the acceptance of that. And we can stop trying to convince people to feel a certain way about us or think a certain way about us. We can stop allowing other people outside of our 6 to 10 foot bubble to dictate our worth, to tell us what our value is. With accolades or promotions or gratitude. We all love to feel appreciated, right? We all love to feel understood. That's part of the reason, it's a lot of the reason, that one of the most powerful components of my 9-week reprogram is the group component, which everybody gets a little like about at first until they realize what kind of group it is. This is a place of incredible understanding, of incredible support, of love, of people that are unfolding these exact same patterns, of people that have felt exactly the way that you're feeling right now that you can't put your finger on, and choosing something different for themselves. So they're all incredibly aware of the pain that they were experiencing before they entered the program and the pain that new people that join us are experiencing. And they're also love leaders. So they're immensely willing to pour love and support and connection into everybody else. And of course, I'm there doing all of those same things. Those calls uplift me and fill my heart just like they do for everybody on them. I had a client last week and it was so great because she had actually missed for a couple weeks. She'd missed our group calls for a couple weeks because she was traveling to see her granddaughters. And she said, I felt like I hadn't eaten. When I was missing these calls, I felt so empty. Because this is my soul food. These calls, these 60 or 90 minutes of connection and love and support and understanding just fill me up from the inside out and give me power and energy and courage and confidence to do what I need to do throughout the course of the week until we meet again. And she's obviously still learning. She's working her way through the program. And she's learning these things for herself. But that connection and understanding is so powerful for her. It's powerful for everybody, like I said, including myself. I'm so grateful. Wednesdays are arguably my favorite day of the week. I love to be on those calls, talking about things that actually matter. And if you're under the assumption that we get on there and we spill the beans and we, tell all our secrets, or we replay our traumas, or we talk about the intricate and intimate ins and outs of our relationships or our deep pain or any of these things, we don't. The details are not necessary for freeing yourself from that heaviness. We don't need to talk about them in acute detail to learn how to navigate through them. As long as we're surrounded by people that desire to connect and understand and support. Nobody will ever know your story or what happened to you or any of the most painful parts of your life. Nobody will ever understand them at the depth and the clarity with which you understand them. That's why this program is so impactful, because it teaches you how to navigate through it for you. It teaches you to find the answers that your heart needs. It's not about if I lived a similar experience and the answers that my heart would need. It's about the answers that your heart needs. And that's why this exploration is so very different, because it's not about forcing somebody else's answers into your own life and trying to make it make sense. It's about finding the answers that your soul needs. And finding the answers that just naturally and innately make the most sense to you, because you understand it at a depth nobody else can. Every single person you share something like that with, something deep and painful and murky and confusing, is bringing their own perception to it. I have lived very similar patterns to many of my clients, but they're not the same. Their parents are not the same as my parents. They didn't grow up in the towns that I grew up in. They didn't move the number of times that I moved. They didn't have the same ex relationships with the same people that I did. So they can't be identical experiences, which means there's some nuance of the answer, at least. Could be a completely different answer, but there's at least a nuance between what serves my heart and what makes the most sense for me, and what serves their heart and makes the most sense for them. And that's what this is about. That's the power of this. And that's why we can do less and achieve more. Because we're not playing building blocks like a 3-year-old and just like trying to jam shapes where a shape doesn't fit, and repeating it until you find a shape that like sort of kind of fits, but not really. This isn't that. This is a process through which you develop completely custom solutions for your completely custom life, for your individuality, for your unique heart and spirit. That's why it's different. There's no massive landslide of trial and erroring. It's uncovering your own answers and then teaching you to trust those answers and teaching you to lean into the person you really are, so you can stop spending all this energy and time and money on doing things that won't solve your problem. Talk about vacations a lot. I love vacation. I love to adventure. I'm an explorer. That won't surprise anybody. But what if you went on vacation and could just enjoy it? What if you didn't need vacation to recover from the life that you're living? What if you didn't go on vacation and dread the life you were coming home to? What if you could live every single day in that space of intrinsic motivation and energy and understanding and love and connection and support? The same one you feel when you dive into projects that actually matter to you. Because you can. You have the power to construct that life. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't require you to burn your whole life down. It doesn't require you to quit your job or leave your spouse or abandon your children or move to another state. It's none of it. And it's not instantaneous, right? The work, learning how to show up as the truest, most authentic version of who you are, and feel confident and incredible and energized and rested as that person, happens over 9 weeks. The rest of it improves and changes naturally without force, based on this new filled feeling inside of you. It starts with you. When you learn to love, when you first learn who you actually are, and then begin to learn to love that person, you will naturally take better care of you. just like we naturally do for the people that we love. Except now you're one of those people. So the drinking and the fitness and the other bad habits will probably solve themselves, or will be solved with much more ease and simplicity than all the things you've tried before. Does that make sense? Choosing to exit a dead-end job and find something else where people see your strengths and value your gifts is a hell of a lot easier when you see your strengths and value your gifts and are willing to talk about them instead of hoping people see it. Does that make sense? When we solve the roots of the problems, so we have all these symptom surface level behaviors that are caused by this identity crisis, this not knowing who we are, that are caused by self-doubt and lack of confidence, that are caused by this need to constantly be running all over the planet, earning approval and validation and love from people. Because we don't feel that love and validation from ourselves. And we can't until we figure out who we actually are, right? That's the straw underneath it all. So when we begin to address and support these deeper issues, all of these surface level problems that are constantly changing, right? I need to make X number of dollars a month. Oh, wait, that's not enough. I need to make X number of dollars a month. And we're constantly chasing this rabbit because we've tied all of our own worth and success to some like concrete material idea instead of a feeling, instead of what we feel like in our lives. And when we start connecting with that, that's when we discover what we truly want and we can get it. We can design our lives around it. I'm working on, I'll mention it briefly. I'm working on right now a series of mini courses called Life on Purpose. And one of them is about this parenting concept, right? Because there's a lot of resources out there that tell you how to parent your children based on, in theory, the author's values, right? Whoever wrote the book or wrote the resource or hosts the podcast or whatever. And because I am a life designer, that's what I specialize in. I specialize in helping people actually design lives they love living. Sounds fun, right? It is fun. I love it. It lights me on fire. But the premise of this mini course on parenting is helping people figure out what kind of kids they want to raise. Clarity is magic. Clarity is magic in every single facet of our lives. If you have questions, if something in this video deeply spoke to you, please share all of those below. I love to hear what touched you, what resonated with you. I love when people ask questions out loud. If you feel uncomfortable asking it out loud, please send me a message. But if you're comfortable, I would rather you post it underneath this video so that I can answer it publicly. And so other people have the opportunity to learn from your question as well, because there may be somebody else that had it in their mind and couldn't form the words or just wasn't comfortable asking it yet. So please ask, please share what resonated with you. It helps me develop what the next Mindset Monday topics will be so I can serve you all the best. And as always, if you are ready to dig into this deeper work, I would love to connect with you and talk about what the next best step for you is. Sometimes it's me. If it's not me, I have a Rolodex of badass resources that I can connect you with that may serve you the best based on what your personal goals, needs, and desires are. As always, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you chose to connect in this space and chose to spend time with us today. Have an incredibly brilliant week, and I will see you next Monday. You are worthy and deserving and capable, even on the days when it feels like you're not. Love you. See you next Monday.